Oh, yes.
Welcome back once again, everyone. Today I'm bringing you a review for Transformers Studio Series number 64. And this is the new Deluxe class Cliffjumper from the movie Transformers Bumblebee. Now, this Cliffjumper toy is a heavy retool of the previous off-road Bumblebee figure, which actually makes a lot of sense because when Bumblebee took on his Jeep or off-road form, it basically just altered his vehicle kibble from his Seibertronian form. And Cliffjumper and Bee share the same body type in their Seibertronian forms, the only difference being their head design. So this makes a lot of sense and makes it pretty obvious that we're eventually going to get a Seibertronian Bumblebee from Studio Series. Now, Hasbro's not usually one to leave money sitting on the table, so I would expect that to come, within the next year. Anyway, if you've seen my reviews before, you know how this goes. We're going to take a look at Cliffjumper in his packaging. Then we're going to open it up, take a look at his instructions. We'll see Cliff himself in both his vehicle and robot modes. Naturally, I'll be doing a comparison against the off-road Bumblebee toy. At some point in the review, I'll show off the backdrop that's included with this figure. And then at the end of the video, I'll give my final thoughts. So Cliffjumper comes in your standard deluxe size Studio Series packaging. You got your Transformers logo, Generations, nice render of him on the front there, name, number, and the movie he belongs to. And then Cliff is just being shown off right here front and center. You can see he's not a big deluxe at all. He's got a lot of empty space in this package. But, it is mostly scale accurate, so that's kind of the point, right? Turn it this way, you get a close-up of that same render from the front. You can see the cool blue glow in his eyes there. Now we turn this around, and you have the toy renders in both the robot and vehicle modes. The renders make his red plastic look, well, really all of his plastic, look a lot shinier than it actually is, which is a big shame, because he comes off as a little bland in hand, I'm not going to lie. But you can see it takes 20 steps to transform him. It says Seibertron Falls, which I guess is the name of the backdrop, which is cool. It's the first time we've gotten this, so I'm digging that. And have a strong feeling we're going to see this quite a bit more in the coming year or so. Because having this mold means, probably getting a Seibertronian Bumblebee, and also having the Blitzwing toy that I reviewed previously means we're probably getting the Seibertronian Seekers, who share a body type with Blitzwing for the most part. Down here for the flavor text, you have, as the battle on Seibertron rages, Cliffjumper and his fellow Autobots are overwhelmed by the Decepticon attacks. And, yeah, very accurate, if you've seen the movie. And over here, it's just is it the same render? It is the same render. It's funny, sometimes you get two different CGI renders for the character, and then sometimes they just keep reusing the same one. Not really sure what determines which approach they go with. Could just be how many drafts they came up for a final render, and then, if they had more than one, they use both. I don't know. Here's Cliffjumper's instruction book, and you can see a nice render of him on the front. Make out his facial details very well, which is nice. Got his name, the movie, Transformers logo, all that, number 64. Open this up, and we get the robot render, which goes straight into his vehicle transformation. It's a little different. They don't show off the weapons first, but okay. You get a cross cell for his wave mates, Topspin and Soundwave here. So there we go. He finishes up the transformation. And this also shows you how to store and or wield his weapon in both modes. So the weapon storage for his vehicle mode has changed considerably compared to the Bumblebee use, where that just had it attached to the underside of his vehicle. Here it goes under the canopy section on the top here, so that's pretty cool. Or you can store it on his back, which is pretty neat. So yeah, it's really interesting how they took this mold and reshelled it in a way to where he transforms essentially backwards from the off-road Bumblebee. So I think that's a very neat little twist there. Now here is Cliffjumper's Seibertronian vehicle mode. You can see it's very, very cool looking, very futuristic. It's got just kind of this domed canopy on the top instead of usual like windshield and windows and all that. So it's very sleek, it looks very aerodynamic. The wheels are neat because they have this little kind of quarter circle red effect going on here. A little more than a quarter, but you get it. Unfortunately, still has the pegs through the wheels, which kind of stinks, especially since they don't even match in color between the front and the back. The front, you get clear ones. On the back, you get red. So go figure. So one thing you'll notice, this toy uses a lot of clear plastic, way more so than the off-road Bumblebee. Like all this is clear. This piece right here, which makes up his feet, is clear, so that's a little spooky, right? Because I mean, it's a load-bearing part of the toy, and it's clear plastic. These hinges are clear. A lot of clear stuff going on here, so that's a little worrisome. As far as rolling, not so well. Yeah, looks like we got quite a bit of dragging here that can't seem to be helped, especially on the back wheels. Well, this one just got a lot of friction on it. It's pretty tight on the peg. I don't know, perhaps if I just moved it around enough, might wear it down to a point where it rolled better. So that wheel doesn't roll well. Others seem to be okay. So I think it's just specifically this back driver's side wheel that doesn't roll okay. So that might just be my copy. Hopefully you guys don't have the same issue. And yeah, it's a shame, but oh well. So yeah, there's his vehicle mode. And here it is compared with off-road Bumblebees. And you can see they're just completely different looking vehicles in every way. Like everything about the vehicle itself is completely reworked here. Different wheels and everything. So that's really impressive how they managed to pull that off. I really dig that. Now if you turn them upside down, they start to look a little familiar. You can see the arms right here, right? One thing you'll notice though, they're upside down from each other, right? So if you look, here's the front of each vehicle. You got his arms pointing down, his pointing up, right? So if you flip it like this, you can see kind of how all this comes together. There's the legs, right? So very interestingly, they just kind of flipped the whole thing around when they reshelled the vehicle. And I think that's really cool. It makes it feel like a completely different toy. In fact, if it weren't for these arms right here, which are, as far as I can tell, like all the same piece, the whole arm section seems to be the same. If it wasn't for that, and then maybe like the blasters, which are the same, which here you can see they're in different places, right? This one's up under the canopy, which you can, in fact, get in there without lifting the canopy up, though it's kind of hard. But it's also hard to keep it in there if you lift the canopy up and then put it in, because it tends to pop out when you try to lower the canopy. So, yeah, you decide how you best want to do that. You can see Bumblebee's here just right on the underside. So, yeah, quite a few differences between the two, and I love that. I really do. That's very creative engineering where you can take something and just rework it to something entirely different. So, big props to the designers for that one. Now let's go ahead and do the transformation on Cliffjumper, and I have to be upfront with you guys, this part freaks me out. I'm not gonna lie. I mentioned the absolute abundance of clear plastic here, and a lot of it requires clear plastic to be plugged into other plastic, and it gets a little scary, right? Definitely brings up the blood pressure a little bit. But I'm gonna do this for you guys, because I love y'all. Hopefully it doesn't break on me. Had that happen enough in recent history. Okay, so the first thing we're doing, this canopy section, this top part, you wanna lift it off. That's probably the scariest part. Okay, this, got one peg out, there's the other one. Okay, see those clear little pegs going to the feet, which is, it's all clear plastic all around, so yikes. Okay, so you got this kind of lifted off, and you get the back part of the canopy lifted up, which you want to do carefully without pulling on this part. You want to pull here. So you get that kind of lifted up and off. And this, oh, that fell out. Here's a gun. Much more nicely painted than Bumblebee's, as in painted at all. And this part, also a little scary. You have to fold this back. So kind of have to push it down, then bring it back. It's all on hinges with pins through them, which pins and clear plastic is a very scary combination. So you want it to all fold back kind of nice and neatly like this. And this little bump here will go into this slot right there. So there's that. And you're going to lift the feet up. Go ahead and separate them like so. Now the wheel and like front fender area, you're going to lift up. The wheel will turn downward into the leg like that. And the fender just kind of rests on the inside. The same thing here. Look at all that clear plastic. This is a collector's nightmare. had bad dreams less scary than this. All right, these little door sections, you're just gonna pop them out of his forearms there, like so. You're gonna pull this bit down a little. Let's bring the arms out. Swing this little chest-like area out. Okay. You can see his head down in here. You're gonna flip this out. And just be careful while you do it. Remember, no undue stress on little pieces. We're popping the head off the ball joint like that. Alright, so you want to fold everything down so the head's facing forward. Push all this in. Alright. Let's see. Let's bring these bits down. So these are on a double hinge. They're going to swing downward like so. And you can see there's a little tab here. It's going to go in the slot on these. And that just kind of helps hold the leg together. So you bring it down until it attaches. And it won't stay very firm, so don't expect it to be like a real airtight connection. Same thing here. Get it to go in, if it will. Yeah, make sure the feet are like fully extended too. So they're on like a hinge and ball joint combo. Okay, there's all that. Then, like Bumblebee, you're going to fold out the two halves of his chest. So they're kind of plugged together here, like so. You want to carefully separate them. Oh, geez. I'm having a panic attack here. All right, there you go. You get that out. Fold that little piece in. Fold it up into the chest cavity like so. All right. See, he's all coming together now. Go ahead, straighten out his arms. And things are coming undone. Again, legs, very finicky. Just be careful with them. All right. So you got all this. And then the last thing you want to do, this piece right here is on another hinge. Fold that down. There's a nice tidy little backpack. Go ahead and get them posed. Make sure the leg panels stay put. So they'll probably move around on you and come undone a bit. Get them nice and posed. Okay. Here we go. That's frustrating. All right. Here is Cliffjumper. And you can see he's a very compact little guy, much like his mold mate Bumblebee. And he's got all the same posability that Bee had. Ball joints for the shoulders, hinged elbows. Got your arm swivel there. Head's on a ball joint and also a hinge, so we can also look up a bit. Though it looks kind of unnatural, honestly. He has waist articulation, which is nice. Ball jointed hips, bending knees, and the ankles are on a ball joint, though they don't get a lot of play. You can't really tilt the ankles at all because of the way they're set in there. But you can rock them either on the ball joint or on that little extra hinge there. So you can do some fun things with him. One thing I really don't like about this version compared to the original, this inner leg kibble right here. It's kind of atrocious. It makes it impossible for him to like really put his legs together because they just collide with each other. And that's a real shame. That really should not be the case, but it is. That and the outer leg kibble just constantly wanting to come undone. He's definitely not as tight of a package as Off-Road Bumblebee is. A lot of that kibble just wants to flop around. Even his backpack kibble really doesn't stay put very well. It kind of swings back a little more than it should. So yeah, he's a little floppy. Not perfect in any capacity. As far as his weapon, you can always stick it down in here for storage, like they tell you to do. Or, more awesomely, you can have him wield it. And it goes specifically on his right arm. So it just goes on there, like so. Using kind of the new cheat method with the Studio Series Bumblebee type characters where it's just a little sheath that goes over the hand rather than replacing the hand entirely. Because they decided it wasn't worth the extra budget to have those separate pieces. So that's a shame. But overall, he looks really good. I mean, obviously the backpack, I mean, what are you going to do? Studio Series, just that's their whole philosophy is like get the accurate robot mode and then just slap whatever's left on the back, right? So, yeah, backpack's not great, and I'm not crazy about the leg kibble, but overall, he still does a good job of being very screen accurate, and I dig the way he came out. Here's our comparison with the off-road Bumblebee again. And this really lets you see just how much has been changed here. Like the feet are all different, the lower legs are all different chest pieces, the backpack kibble is completely new. Quite a bit new stuff going on. Obviously the heads are different, right? Because different characters. Overall, I will say the Bumblebee is a better use of this mold. I'm not going to lie. When you look at him, much smaller backpack. Doesn't have kibble that just flops around and stuff. He actually has ankles that can be tilted because the feet are molded with much more give in the ball joint. And he feels like a much tighter package. In fact, when I reviewed this guy, I praised him for being a transform, but also just really feeling like an action figure in his robot mode. I think he just absolutely nails being an action figure that plays well, that doesn't fall apart when you mess with him. This guy, however, I can't say the same. Especially, honestly, the worst part is the legs by far. The lack of posability in the feet and the kibble that just wants to come undone when you just look at it funny really brings this guy down. Now, it doesn't make him a bad figure by any means, but he is significantly less satisfying than the Bumblebee. So that is something to think about. If you are the kind of person that only collects one version of a mold, you're better off with the Off-Road B. However, if you really need a movie Cliffjumper, I mean, this is still a really great toy on its own right. One thing I pointed out that it does do better than B is that they actually did bother to paint his rifle or his arm cannon this time. So, little bit of a plus there. It's not just one solid dark gray color, so I like that. Other than that, though, you know, he's just, I don't know if I'd say he's better or worse than B, just different. And as such, has different experiences. The transformation is much more involved this time around. He needs the extra moving parts to make the whole Seibertronian car mode work. So it is a little more of a hassle to transform him. He's got a bit more going on there. But if you like complex transformation, that's a good thing. So yeah, I do like this figure, and I love finally getting a movie-verse Cliffjumper that isn't just a red Bumblebee. You know, he's quite a bit more than that, so I really like that. He's got his own head sculpt, which is an especially unheard of thing for, you know, live-action Cliffjumpers. So I do like him in his own right. Still like Off-Road Bumblebee a lot more. I mean, that Off-Road B is kind of one of my top faves for Studio Series Deluxes, which is funny because, as you may know, I'm not the biggest fan of Bumblebee, so I guess that is a shame when a character I normally can't stand ends up having a better toy than a character I'm much more eager to see in plastic form, but oh well, it is what it is, right? And I think that's going to just about wrap it up for Cliffjumper. Now, I'm sure you've noticed this review is coming very late. This guy's been out for quite a while now, and that's an unfortunate side effect of just me getting really busy in life and having to put this guy on the back burner for quite a while. But I did want to finally catch up on some old reviews that I had started up to, like, I don't know, half a year ago, and he's one of them. Which is a shame because it's kind of hard to say, should you buy this, should you not buy this? Because, I mean, he's already kind of come and gone on store shelves at this point. Now, I believe you can still find him online and probably get a good price on him, because I don't think he was like a super hot seller, so you might be able to get a good deal on like Amazon or something. So, you know, having watched this review, if you were on the fence and you didn't have this guy already, maybe this has changed your mind. Me personally, I think he's an okay toy. I gotta say, I'm very disappointed with the way a lot of things turn out. I think the backpack's really bad. I think the leg kibble's just not good at all. And the fact, like, I get what they were going for with the clear plastic, very cool, futuristic look, but there's so much of it that I am like legitimately afraid of transforming this thing for fear that something's gonna break, especially one of the tabs. So there are some things to consider there. The toy's probably gonna be prone to some serious breakage if you're not very, very careful. So I would say this is really more for people that just really, really like the idea of having a Cliffjumper in their collection. If they're looking for a quality action figure, I would get the Off-Road B version of this because it overall is just a better figure. It does almost everything better than this toy does. So I would say this guy is kind of mildly recommended. Maybe I'm being too harsh. I don't know. Maybe I'm shaded by the many months that he's sat there on my shelf, making me feel guilty about not reviewing him. I don't know. So let me know what you guys think. Did you pick this guy up when he was out? And if you did, are you happy with him? Are you not happy with him? If you didn't already have him and now you've watched this, has it changed your mind? Have you decided you want this toy? Has it turned you against it? Or maybe you already had your mind made up and you weren't getting it anyway? I'd love to know what you're all thinking down in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. If you'd like to become a member of the channel and join us in members-only live chats and get to partake potentially in some Q&A questions that I answer directly for everyone, and even get a nice little shout-out during the Q&A videos, look for the join button down below where you can become a channel member for as little as $1.99 a month. I thank you for joining me for this look at the not-so-new Transformers Studio Series 64 Cliffjumper. With all that said, I will see you next time.